You're listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast.
Welcome to this episode of The Whole Truth podcast. I'm Paul Armstrong. Greenfield exploration can change lives. We've seen it plenty times before. Sandfire, Sirius, Pilbara Minerals, the list goes on. Of course, we are talking about needles in a haystack in every case. Nimy Resources is looking for one such needle. In fact, if you listen to Executive Director Luke Hampson in this episode, you'll see he actually is trying to close in on 3 needles in what is a very big haystack in Western Australia. The company has isolated 3 individual prospects in the northern part of its Mons Project in WA. It's done some initial drilling. It's hit mineralisation in each of these 3 areas. We're not talking here about just a little bit of smoke. He's established that there is mineralisation in each of the 3 cases. Geophysics suggests that there is deeper sources in each case as well. The question is, where is the mineralisation coming from? Is there lots more of it? Is it higher grade? Are there wider widths and the like? That's what exploration is all about. Nimy's just raised some money to get back out in the field and drill deep holes into each of these 3 targets. Nobody's going to die waiting here. Drilling starts in the next few weeks. And Luke tells us that they're desperate to get down there to find out what is below the mineralisation they've already established. So Luke, you've just raised some money to go drilling.
Amongst other things, yes, Paul. Drilling, more EM work and some IP work.
Right, so you got some money in your sporran. You're back out into the field. What's the plan? What's your number one priority here?
Number one priority is the Masson discovery, which we made late last year and progressed through early this year. We're looking at RC drilling, diamond tails, and also some follow-up downhole. And we're chasing the anomaly that we announced recently. So initially we had, I think, from 80 metres to 205 metres of massive and disseminated sulfides with nickel, copper, cobalt, PGEs. And then we did downhole on that lot of drilling, extended it by another, I think, 69, 70 metres. So we'll drill through that, drill underneath it, and then downhole it and see how far it goes.
Now, Masson, to put this in context, Masson is one of 3 prospects in the northern part of the Mons Project. Of course, Mons is a very large project area in total, but in the northern part, Masson is one of the 3. What do you know about Masson thus far?
Well, thus far, it was a little bit of a surprise to us because, as you know, when we were exploring down south, we were in the Komatiite territory. This is a completely different geological setting. So the massive sulfides that we've encountered have been hosted by a gabbroic rock, so very different, more like the Nova Bollinger, Voisey's Bay type setup at this point in time. So geologically, it presents very differently than anything else we've seen on the holding, and quite rare, you know, in the context of discoveries in Western Australia.
What do you know, though, about from the drilling? You obviously, it's been established that there is mineralisation there, but at this stage you've got, would it be fair to say, low-grade mineralisation, but it's got, obviously, the issue now in simple terms is to say, where is this mineralisation coming from?
Yeah, and that's what we're searching for. I'm not sure we're talking low-grade. I think peak value is 0.97 nickel over a metre, 1.5% copper, 0.7 grams per tonne, 2 PGE, up to, I think, 0.17 cobalt. So it's fairly reasonable in terms of the mineralisation. What we're chasing really is, what we're looking at here is a shoot, is how we're interpreting it. So it's subvertical, which, you know, if you go back to the Nova Bollinger, the first part of that discovery at Nova was a vertical shoot. And they followed down using the same techniques that we're using in terms of EM, followed it down, flattened out, thickened up, grade got better, and the rest is history for those guys.
So you think the mineralisation that you've encountered so far, the grade is perfectly okay. It's a question of trying to find more of it. This shoot that you refer to, you would expect could be higher grade, but more of it. You're after the quantity of it, the widths of the intersections.
We're after higher grade and we're after volume. Yeah. By way of comparison, if you look at the Nova discovery, I'll keep going back to it, but the setting is pretty similar. The first couple of drill holes, I think the top one they went through was, I think, about 0.4 copper nickel percent. over about 9 to 10 metres. Now, the initial drill hole that we drilled at the top of ours was, I think, 0.73, I think, nickel, and 0.5 or 6, I think, copper over 4 to 5 metres in a 10-metre sulphide zone. And that 5 metres was massive sulphides. And again, the PGEs were up as well. So very similar at the top of the chute. And we're following that down. And as I said, we've gone from downhole from about 100 metres now down to 215 metres of mineralisation.
So does this tell you that you could be on the top of the chute, you've got the very edge of it, the top edge of it, and therefore this is hopefully going to lead you down to the source of it, to the mother lode?
Exactly. We're looking for it to flatten out and thicken, hence why we're drilling underneath the anomaly. Because, downhole you can get a certain amount of visibility on the anomaly, and again, it extended by another 70 metres. The other thing to note is the Siemens count on the modelling of the plates that we were about to drill is 10,000. Now, previously, it was 8,000 higher up. So it doesn't always follow, but we're getting increased conductivity as we're getting deeper. So
in layman's terms, the geophysics are suggesting to you that, yes, you have got the top of the mineralisation. There are, as you call them, plates or conductors, in simple terms, targets at depth below these intersections. You've drilled as far as you can with the RC rig. You need to put the big diamond beast in there and drill below your existing intersections to find out what below and to the side. Yeah, correct. So there'll be 2 drill holes there, around about 240 metre RCs, and then we're allowing for up to 200 metres of diamond tail on each of those holes. First hole will pass through the 2 newly modelled plates. Second hole will go beneath, and we'll downhole both of them and see what sort of response we get there. So you're really saying you've got plenty of smoke, you've got some fire with the mineralisation. The question is you're looking for the big source of it, and that's where the diamond rig comes in to chase it down and see where it's coming from, what explains these conductor plates. And the possible extensions is the big one, really. Okay. Now, moving away from Masson, so to Block 3, as you refer to it, what's the distance as the crow flies there? About 13 kilometres south. And a different geological setting again at Block 3? Yeah. What do you know about Block 3? In context, we've got an 80-kilometre greenstone belt within our holding, north-south. The bottom half of it I mentioned earlier, komatiite flows are there. Block 3 is around the central part, a flexure, if you like, and that strikes east-west, the body that we're looking at there. And then we go to the north and we look at this gabbro-hosted sulphides. So Block 3 is quite different in as much as it doesn't appear to be any komatiites there. And when we've drilled, the initial drilling, we ended up intersecting massive and disseminated sulphides, but they're not carrying any nickel. It's copper, gold, silver, which is, a little bit different. So we did an IP survey. It was vastly different, particularly given that it's only 13 kilometres. I mean, in a geological sense, particularly in Western Australia, that is a stone's throw. Yeah. But if you look at the geology, and we're developing this at the moment, look at the geology, we've probably got up to 8 different geological settings there that are a little bit different events. So we go from the komatiite, we've got the... we don't know what Block 3 is going to be. It's VMS, porphyry, a little bit more work. That's why we're doing it. And then we're up into this gabbro-hosted stuff in the north. So at Block 3, you what do you know? You drilled there. You've done some RC drilling. Yeah. Again, you've got mineralisation. Yeah, we've got massive sulphides. We've got disseminated sulphides. They're carrying copper, gold, silver. The other one to note is in the eastern part of we did 2 drill holes on the eastern part of the strike, which is about 3 kilometres. And we got that gallium anomaly, which at first what's gallium, and that's up to, I think, what was it, nearly 500. Quite a fashionable metal now, given its use in technology applications and the Chinese stranglehold on it. So you've got a mineralised body. Yeah. Again, what the geophysics says to you, that you could have just drilled the cusp of the mineralisation of the system.
Yeah, if you look at the last announcement around Block 3, where we talked about the IP survey that we did, and we have two chargeability anomalies that have got resistivity anomalies running proximal to them or alongside them, which is a pretty good sign in terms of sulfides. And I think from memory, the one in the west is about strike length of about 700 metres, and the one in the east is 600 and something metres. So quite large bodies of what is interpreted as disseminated and massive sulfide. The gallium, for us, what's interesting about that is we looked at a couple of, it's very hard to find anything on gallium, don't worry, but we looked at a couple of different deposits there that are copper gold with zones of gallium around it. So we're drawing that comparison, if you like, and that gallium is on the eastern edge of the eastern anomaly.
So you're saying gallium can conventionally be seen as a lead indicator, if you like, a pathfinder to a copper gold system.
Yeah. So, that took a little bit of work to work out what that was doing there and why it was there. And there was copper in oxide above it.
So what did geophysics tell you at Block 3, Luke, about what you may have below or around the mineralised intersections thus far?
If we put together the drill holes that we've got so far, massive and disseminated sulfides carrying copper, gold, silver. We did the IP survey because we're thinking it's copper, more likely disseminated, and we got a good result from those. So we got two large anomalies, coincident again with the conductivity and the chargeability. So we've got two really good, substantial sized anomalies there to do some more work on. So we'll put we'll put 3 drill holes in there to test those anomalies and just see what comes up with it. Yeah.
And as you say, you put it all together, it tells you there's something at depth here.
Yeah.
Now, moving across to the third and final one, Vera's Gossan. Again, how far are we talking in a straight line here?
Similar distance, actually. I'd say 13, 14 kilometres perhaps, and it's pretty much directly west of Masson. So the geology is pretty interesting from east of Masson all the way across. We've got these repetitive, almost look like folds heading across. So the geology in terms of, at least the geophysics, the magnetics look very similar to Masson. Now, we discovered that not with the VTEM that you originally used to discover the Masson discovery. We were out doing soil sampling. Our geologists out there doing soil sampling. Encountered a Gossan, we've assayed it, and it's gone nickel, copper, cobalt, and sulfur. So that was a bit of a surprise, that one, all right, because we didn't have any VTEM, we didn't have anything to go by. So then we followed up, put 3 lines to test it of moving loop across it, and we've come up with 3 anomalies. So we'll drill test those anomalies. But I think at this point, it'd be fair to say it's probably going to be similar to Masson. The drill will tell us. And there'll be 3 RC holes into that. Again, around the 240 metres. So
you put the 3 things together, you're saying, put yourself in an investor's shoes, why would I own Nimy shares? Well, you're about to put holes into 3 quite advanced prospects. Each of them hosts mineralisation, albeit each in a very different geological setting.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of smoke, there's mineralisation there. The geophysics says there could be bigger underlying bodies, mother lodes in each case.
Could well be. We're pretty, I suppose, data driven, if you like, and we analyse what we've got and everything else like that. The northern part of our holding, in terms of the setting, is a bit of a surprise, right? The Gabbro hosted massive sulfides. I go back to, we did that really large VTEM survey, and there's 230 odd anomalies in that data. Masson and Block 3 are the first 2 that we've followed up with some moving loop and some drilling. Both have got massive and disseminated sulfides. So we're at the tip of the iceberg here, but these two are fairly advanced in as much as we've done the geophysics, we've done the drilling, we've ended up hitting massive sulfides in both. Albeit they're different mineralisation styles, we've hit it in both. So, the odds of that, I don't know, people can work that out for themselves. A lot of drilling goes on into plates and conductive anomalies that turn out to be shale or not even there, but we're 2 for 2. So in terms of why would you invest in Nimy? Well, it's a greenstone belt that no one has been overlooked, if you like, or not discovered. We've done the work and we ended up with hitting massive sulfides in the first 2 prospects in the northern part of the tenements.
As you say, a lot of these conductors do turn out to be black shale. Unfortunately, the sad and sorry tale of Greenfield's exploration in Western Australia. But you're sort of past that, aren't you? In the sense that you know there's mineralisation. You can never rule it out at depth, but at this stage, something has to explain where is that mineralisation coming from in each of these 3 cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're hot on at the moment, and that's why the follow up. That's why the capital raise. And the capital raisers raise money to be really specific about, what we're drilling and what.
Now on that point, you've only raised $1 million.
Yeah.
You've done that. Why? Why have you kept it so tight?
I think a lot of it is because we think we're onto it, and we know what we've got to spend to really progress this. So, we're doing 2 holes and follow-up geophys at Masson, 3 holes only at Block 3 with it looks like we'll do dipole and get an idea of the dimensions or the physically what's under there and depth and everything. And then over at Veras Gosselin, we've got 3 holes going into 3 anomalies. And given that we've already hit massive and disseminated sulfides in the first 2 areas, Masson and Block 3, we're pretty confident around those 3 RC holes that'll test Veras Gosselin.
So the idea being that you obviously want shareholders to get maximum exposure, maximum leverage to any exploration success.
Yeah. Well, if you go back to it early, again, 80-kilometre greenstone belt that's hardly had any work done to it. You start off and it really is exploratory drilling. You're doing, 8, 10 drill hole lines of drill holes there just to get an idea of what's down there, based on what soils, bit of geochem, So the first year or so, probably a year and a half, was spent establishing that we've actually got a greenstone belt. But right now, we've done the VTEM, we've done follow-up moving loop, fixed loop, downhole, drilling. We think that we're onto this in terms of the success rate is pretty good. The rest of it in terms of those over 230 anomalies in the data, which aren't all going to be massive sulfides. I mean, it's a matter of rating them, or the geophysicists at least rate those. So I think it's important right now to understand that we're, on discoveries, and we've got to be really specific about the work we do, the money we spend to maximise the value.
So the big question, when's the first hole go in?
It should be August the 5th. The drill rig will be on site.
So no one's going to die waiting here. It's on.
Well, they never do with us.
So you've got the dough. The rig presumably is just about on its way.
Yep.
And you'll be into it.
Yep.
And you'll have 2 rigs, obviously, the RC rig and the diamond rig.
That's right. Yeah.
So logically, come sort of end of August, we should be expecting some action.
All right, let's hope so.
Could be on the next big one. Luke, thanks very much for your time today.
Yep.
It's a fascinating story. It's a typical Western Australia greenfields exploration story. It really is a case of being Sherlock Holmes out in the bush, isn't it?
It is.
You're closing in on something. It sounds easy when you talk about, we've done geophysics and the like, but it is an absolute needle in a haystack.
Well, just on that, have a look where we are. And, and people can go to the GSWA website and have a look at what that's mapped as. It's mapped as granite. Right, so I think we've gone well past establishing that it's an 80-kilometre greenstone belt that no one's touched or hardly had any exploration to it.
So closing in on one mineralised system takes a fair bit of detective work.
Well, yeah, and I think we've done it relatively quickly to be drilling massive sulfides in 2 and a bit years.
Great. Luke, we will be watching this over the next few weeks, obviously, and hopefully we'll get you back on the hot seat here on the Whole Truth podcast and be having a chat about some nice, thick, high-grade intersections.
Yep.
All the best with the drill bit.
Thanks, Paul. Look forward to coming back.
You've been listening to The Whole Truth, a Resources Rising Stars podcast, produced by Resource Media, hosted by Paul Armstrong for Reed Corporate. Please note that Reed Corporate does not provide investment advice, and investors should seek personalised advice before making any investment decisions.